The grand ballroom glittered under the warm glow of crystal chandeliers, filled with the soft hum of music and the quiet chatter of the city's most powerful guests. In the midst of all the elegance, she stood quietly by the champagne tableau. Simple woman in a cream dress, trying to blend into a world that never truly felt like hers. Her husband, a respected businessman, was across the room speaking with the very people who once doubted him. She was proud, yet nervous, knowing every glance in her direction carried silent judgment. But before the evening could settle into comfort, the air shifted. From across the room, his best friend's wife, a woman known for her sharp tongue and sharper tempers, toward her with eyes that could cut glass. Without warning, words laced with disdain spilled out, echoing louder. Then the music. Guests turned their heads, whispers spreading like wildfire. The simple woman's hands tightened around her glass as she tried to understand why she was being targeted in such a public, humiliating way. And then everything stopped. Her husband caught sight of the scene, his expression changing in an instant. What he did next would leave the entire elite crowd stunned. The room seemed to hold its breath as his steps grew faster, but the simple woman's mind was already racing. She had met his best friend's wife only a handful of times before, always in passing, always with a polite smile. There had never been a reason for hostility, or so she thought. Yet tonight, the woman's glare carried something deeper, as if this public confrontation had been planned, she could feel dozens of eyes on her, each person trying to piece together their own version of the scene. The clink of champagne glasses and low laughter had faded, replaced by an uneasy silence that pressed on her chest. Her husband's best friend stood near the corner, watching, but his expression was unreadable. Was he aware of what his wife was doing, or was he part of it? Memories of recent weeks began to surface, strange moments she had brushed aside. The sudden coldness in certain greetings. The quick, hushed conversations that stopped when she entered the room. Now, those moments felt like pieces of a puzzle she wished she had noticed sooner. Her husband was only steps away now, his jaw tight, his eyes locked on hers. And in that tense space, she realized something much bigger was unfolding. Her husband reached her side, his presence steady yet charged with a quiet intensity. He didn't speak right away, only placing himself between her and the other woman. The best friend's wife didn't back down, her chin lifted in defiance, as if she had the right to confront her here in front of everyone. The crowd was still gathered, some pretending to sip their drinks while straining to catch every word. The tension felt almost tangible, like a string pulled too tight. She kept her gaze low, but her mind was replaying every interaction over the past month. There had been a charity dinner where the best friend's wife had whispered something to her. Husband Dan smiled in a way that didn't feel friendly. There were the subtle glances exchanged between certain guests whenever she walked into the room. And then there was the mysterious phone call she had overheard her husband speaking in a guarded tone, mentioning a name she didn't recognize. Meanwhile, across the room, his best friend's expression shifted from detached to uneasy. He whispered something to another guest who quickly slipped away toward the exit. The simple woman noticed, her heart pounding faster. Whatever was happening wasn't just about a social slight, it was tied to something far deeper and far more dangerous than she had imagined. The music had stopped completely now, leaving only the low murmur of the guests and the faint clinking of glasses from somewhere in the distance. Her husband's voice, calm but edged with steel, cut through the tension as he asked the best friend's wife what this was about. She smiled faintly, a smile that didn't reach her eyes, and replied in a tone just loud enough for those nearby to hear. Whatever she said made a few people exchange startled glances, their whispers spreading through the crowd like ripples on water. The simple woman's pulse hammered in her ears. She could see his best friend shifting uncomfortably, as though torn between stepping forward and keeping his distance. More unsettling was the way certain guests ones she barely knew seemed invested in the exchange. Their expressions sharp and expectant, like they were waiting for a spectacle. Her husband's hand brushed lightly against her arm. A quiet reassurance, but his eyes never left the other woman. Then, as if on cue, the heavy double doors at the far end of the ballroom opened. A man in a dark suit entered, carrying an envelope, his gaze sweeping the room before locking onto her. The air seemed to thicken, every movement slowing, as he began walking toward them with deliberate steps. Something was about to break. The man in the dark suit stopped just a few feet away, his expression unreadable. Without a word, he handed the envelope to her husband. The simple woman caught a glimpse of the seal on the flap. It wasn't from the event organizers, but something official-looking, almost legal. Her husband's fingers tightened around it before he slipped it into his jacket, his jaw tightening. Further, before anyone could ask, the best friend's wife spoke again, her voice rising enough to command the room's attention. "Tell her," she said, her eyes locked on the simple woman before someone else does. Gasps fluttered through the crowd, and all at once, it felt like the entire ballroom leaned in closer. Her husband didn't answer, but the best friend stepped forward now, his gaze darting nervously toward the man in the suit. "You don't understand," he said quietly, though his voice trembled. "It's not just about tonight, it's about what's coming." The simple woman's breath caught. Something about the way he said it, the way his eyes flickered toward the exits, made her feel an unexpected chill. And then she noticed too. More suited men had entered from the side door, scanning the guests as if searching for someone. That's when she realized this wasn't just a social scandal. It was something much bigger and far more dangerous. The suited men moved closer, their pace measured but unyielding. The crowd instinctively parted, whispers growing louder. Her husband finally stepped forward, shielding her completely, his voice low but firm as he told them to state their business. One of the men reached into his coat, and for a moment, her heart frozen till he pulled out a slim folder and handed it over. Her husband opened it, scanning the pages quickly before looking at her. His expression softened, but there was an urgency in his tone when he said, "You need to know the truth tonight." He turned to the best friend's wife, his words sharp now. "You tried to humiliate her because you knew she was the key." The woman's confident facade cracked, a flicker of panic flashing in her eyes. The papers revealed that the simple woman had unknowingly inherited controlling shares in a major company, one that held the deciding vote on a multi-million-dollar deal. The entire confrontation had been an attempt to pressure her into stepping aside. The best friend's wife tried to protest, but the suited men legal representatives had already stepped in, presenting documents that removed her from the board entirely. Just as relief began to wash over the simple woman, the man in the suit leaned in and whispered, "But this isn't the only thing they've been hiding from you." Her heart raced as the man's words echoed in her mind. But instead of another public revelation, he quietly explained that her late father had set up protections for her long before she even met her husband. Safeguards that not only secured her inheritance, but also ensured she could never be forced out by anyone's schemes. The best friend's wife's attempts had been desperate moves against something already beyond her control. The suited men confirmed the legalities. And with no way forward, the woman left the ballroom without another word, her best friend trailing behind in silent defeat. Guests began to murmur again, the tension slowly melting into cautious relief. Her husband turned to her, his expression both proud and apologetic, promising that no one would ever treat her as less than she deserved again as the night wore on. The music returned, but the simple woman didn't stay to celebrate. Stepping outside into the cool night air, she realized the confrontation had given her something unexpected clarity. She now understood her own strength, her place in this powerful world, and the quiet influence she carried. The elite event had tried to break her, but instead it revealed the truth. She was far from simple. She was unshakable.